Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is John with SwingFit. This week, we have a really interesting topic for you where we're going to address a popular question we often get asked, and that is, when is it appropriate to go with a blended iron set? And for those that may not be familiar with this term or this practice, this is sometimes also referred to as combo builds in the club fitting world. And simply stated, this is where a club fitter will take one or more models out of a manufacturer's lineup in order to build your perfect iron set. So as an example, let's say the 7 through the wedge is one flavor and the 6 and 5 or maybe 6, 5, and 4 is another. And we are doing more combo builds than ever before. And I really want to chalk this up to the manufacturers getting wise on this approach and building their irons in a manner that really allow them to be blended together. But understand this, not all irons is really meant to be blended together. So not only we're going to share some of our favorite combos that we like to build for our customers, but we're also going to share some tips along the way that you're definitely going to take into consideration, such as where do you make the switch and who really might be a great candidate to go with a blended set. So without further ado, let's jump in. Now, before we dive too deep into today's topic, I do want to take a quick second to welcome any new viewers to the channel. So if this happens to be your first time, then definitely welcome to the channel, because I can promise you, you are in the right place if you are interested in learning more about the club fitting process. Because not only do we create content to share some of the tips and tricks that club fitters might do in order to help you take your game to another level, but we truly believe that this information can be the difference maker to help you get the most out of your fitting process and just make you a more informed consumer. So consider hitting that subscribe button below and turn on that bell so that way you receive an alert anytime we drop our new content. So now let's talk about a couple situations and share a couple player profiles that we truly believe would be a good candidate to go with a blended set. And without question, player profile 1 is our higher handicaps. And the reason why is we often hear that, I never pull my 5 iron. Once I get past my 6 or 7 iron, I just cannot hit my long irons. And if that does sound like you, then going with a blended set not only can potentially give you a little bit of forgiveness at the top end of the bag, but it's also going to enlarge that sweet spot, because what's really happening is as those clubs get a little longer, you're probably swaying off of that strike point, getting out of that sweet spot zone, catching it in the heel or the toe, and the ball's just not going to go as far, and it's definitely not going to feel as good. And going with a blended set and say your 6 and your 5, could potentially just give you a little bit more forgiveness and protection on those off-center strikes. And we definitely have found that this has been a great option for some of our higher handicap players. Now, in regards to where we make the split, in other words, where do we actually blend the irons in, I usually like to start at a 7 iron for our higher handicaps, and that just gives them a little bit more forgiveness from the 7 on down. So 7, 6, and 5 would be one flavor, and then everything from 8 iron through the wedge would be another flavor. And this is what I like to refer to as a 4-3 split. And you'll see similar splits for the other player profiles. But guys, this is a great sweet spot and has worked really, really well for those higher handicaps. Now, player profile number 2 would be those mid-handicappers who's looking to take their game to another level. Maybe their skill has increased, looking to maybe to start to shape their shots, work the ball both left and right. And what they found with those game improvement irons in their set is that they're just having a little bit of a problem, especially with the lower end of the bag, because in these situations, almost guaranteed, you still like the ball flight off those higher irons, not struggling with those whatsoever. So you like that forgiveness and protection that you're getting, but the bottom part of the bag is no longer a good fit. And that could just be attributed to like the sole design, just how thick and bulky they are. And there's no secret that game improvement irons, just the ball can potentially come off the face a little bit hotter. That could lead to those jumpers. Going with a 5-2 split in a player's GI iron could potentially be your best friend, and who couldn't use a couple more friends in your bag in order to help you tighten it up. And last but not least would be our scratch players. And yes, our low handicappers can benefit by going with a combo set. But unlike in the other player profiles where we might be looking at a 4-3 split, maybe a 5-2 split, here we're probably only looking at that last iron in the bag. I mean, maybe you prefer longer irons more than that of a hybrid, and swapping out that last iron for the next model down could potentially be a great hybrid replacement, you know. And one of the reasons why is we do have some limitations with certain hybrids that's out on the market. You know, we just may not have full adjustability to tweak loft, maybe adjust that lie angle to protect that left side. So going with a longer iron but a more forgiving iron at the top could potentially be a great option, especially if you're not a big fan of those hybrids. So definitely take that in consideration, because I will say that this trend is a popular one out on tour, and you're seeing more blended sets at the top end of the bag than ever before. But once again, it's just because, you know, we have greater opportunities in order to mix those things up. So as you can see, it really doesn't matter how good of a golfer you are or not, and anybody can really benefit by going with a blended set. But the question now remains is, which sets are the best sets, or which sets do we like the most for doing combo sets? So let's kind of peel back the layers. Now, as a quick disclaimer, I'm not saying the combos that we share today is the only way to achieve a blended set, and there is a pretty good chance that there's a new combo set just around the corner that might become our new favorite. But for the time being, we do have a couple recommendations for you. So for our higher handicappers, there's really 3 combos that we like, and with the first one being the JPX 921 series. And here we like blending the pros with the regular hot metals, and we would use the pros in the lower portion of the bag and use those hot metals in the top end of the bag. And so whether you want to go with the 7, 6, and 5 in the hot metals or the 6 and 5, definitely that is a great option, and those irons blend very, very well together. The second set would be the set from Callaway, and that's the Apex line. And here we'd like going with the regular Apex, CF21s that is, and blending that with the brand new Apex DCBs. And very much like the hot metals, that is a great package to blend together. Gives you a little bit more forgiveness, a little higher launch with that lower CG. Now understand that the difference in the size of the sole will increase as you make that switch. And it doesn't really matter which combo set you do go with. As that sole gets a little wider, we're going to bring CG down just to get the launch up, because if you are struggling with those longer irons, pretty good chance getting the ball in the air can be a challenge, and going with that little wider footprint on those longer irons can definitely help you out. And our third and final set that we love for our high handicappers is the Srixon set. And, you know, it's probably the most underrated iron, you know, for, you know, our higher handicappers, but that is the new Srixon ZX5 irons. And when you blend that with the ZX4, that is a killer combination, and it has worked really, really well. Now for our mid handicappers who's looking to take their game to another level, maybe work on some shot shaping, a little tighter dispersion, then definitely these are the combos that we like for this segment. But understand this, is that these combos also work well for our scratch players. And the reason why is that we're seeing more players today, regardless of how great of a golfer they are, is moving into more of a player's cavity back, or what's considered to be a player's game improvement iron, right? It's just, I mean, there is such a thing, and you know, everybody wants a little bit of protection and forgiveness, so these combos can really go either way, with the first set being the Srixon set. And here, without question, we're going to be looking at the Srixon ZX7 and ZX5, and once again, this works well for scratch golfers and mid handicappers, and the only difference is how you build your set composition. So for our mid handicappers, we probably recommend a 5-2 split, and for our better players, we're going to recommend a 6-1 split. But these irons was really almost built to blend together, and I think Srixon was one of the first companies that kind of like really started to make their irons with this thought in mind, and just more companies has gravitated towards this as the years have progressed, and definitely this is something that works really, really well. Now, the other set is, without question, the Callaway Apex line. And here you can go with the Apex Pros and the regular Apex CF21s. Now, here's what I will say as a slight caveat is that there is a big difference in look from the Pro to the regular CF21. And, you know, in years past, it was a great combination, and it still works well if you can get past the looks. But I'll let you guys be a judge of that. But when you take a look at the Apex Pro here, you know, this thing looks beautiful. I would even go as far to say that this is the best looking Apex Pro that they've created in a long, long time. But when you compare that to the CF21, it just looks like a different iron, and you know, definitely it is a little wider, but it still continues to be a great option to replace those last two irons or that last iron in your set. Now, checking in at number 3 is the JPX 921 Tour irons. I mean, for as small as a footprint that these irons have, this is a very forgiving club, and it feels unbelievable. And when you pair that with the JPX 921 Forge irons in the top end, you really can't go wrong, and it becomes a great combination. It's done very, very well for us, and heck, we can't really keep these things in stock because it's just that good of a performer. But very much like the Callaway irons, right? There is a big difference in designs, and unlike the Strix irons, when you look at the back of those things look almost identical, and you have to look at the bottom of the soles to really see what those subtle differences are. The Apexes and the Mizunos, definitely, there's no disputing, you're rocking two different irons. And just take a look at here, you know, the 921 here looks very, very beautiful, very clean and sleek. And that Forge, you know, still looks beautiful, but it's just got that medallion on the back of it, a little shinier. But once again, if it's serving the purpose of replacing a hybrid or just giving you a little bit of forgiveness and protection at the top end, this is a great combination. And last but certainly not least is the Titleist irons for our mid handicappers and scratch golfers. You know, without question, the T100s and T200s is a great combination. And although we just recently got the new heads in for this year, haven't had an opportunity to really do any combo builds yet, I can tell you from last year that was a great killer combination as well. And once again, guys, just keep in mind, I can't emphasize this enough, you know, yes, we are recommending these type of irons for both skill levels, but the big difference is your set composition. So 5-2 split for mids, and for our scratches, we're looking at a 6-1 split. So in closing, we truly hope you found value in this information we shared with you today. And if nothing else, we at least now hope you have a little better understanding of what is a blended set, how it can potentially help you, as well as what are some of our personal favorites that we like to recommend depending on your skill level. So if you have any questions or comments, please do me a favor, leave them in the remarks below, and please, by all means, don't forget to take a look at one of these videos over here, because there just might be a couple golden nuggets that can help you take your game to another level. So until next week, thanks for watching.